Hey guys, I know it's been a little time since the last time I posted anything new for the reactions that I normally do, but I wanted to kind of just take a different opportunity to speak to you guys about some of the things that just recently occurred in the last few days with the different people that have passed on, and a lot of them were really special. Of course, if you are in my age bracket, if you're kind of in that 40 plus crowd, you kind of know who these people were, where they came from, and just what they meant to us in all different facets of the industry. And of course, we do a lot of music reactions here, and I have yet to do any kind of reactions of anybody covering any Ozzy Osbourne. But as we all know, that being since his passing just here recently, he was an icon to be had, and I think that just the way that he was a big part of his contributions to music, from actually founding Black Sabbath, being one of the co-founders of Black Sabbath, and just being just creating something from scratch, and just elevating it to stardom. And I unfortunately I never actually got an opportunity to see him perform live. And I would have loved to have seen a show. I've always heard the rumors. I think we all know the rumors as to what happens at one of those shows. I think that some of them actually did turn out to be more rumors than actual occurrences. But there's always a little bit of element of truth in every rumor that you hear. So take that for what you will. Maybe there was something that had more truth in it than just being something where a fantastic story was being told. But yeah, I mean, he was such a great icon of music. And I'll tell you is that my experience with music from him is that, I mean, I've always enjoyed that kind of hard rock, metal, especially in those earlier days of that that 70s kind of era, metal kind of music. And then of course the songs that we were able to hear from him in his solo career. And then I actually found a new enjoyment and appreciation of it, even though I actually didn't have a lot of musical instrument skill set, I would say. I think everybody remembers the video game Guitar Hero, and then also even Rock Band, and that's kind of where I even got to enjoy music on a different level, even though I couldn't really play something other than a plastic instrument, right? But it did get me interested in learning how to play guitar, and so I did actually take up some guitar lessons, and I started playing some other instruments and got engaged that way as well. But I remember just having a lot of fun with Ozzy's music in playing in that game, and just kind of singing along. And I know a lot of people know Crazy Train or Mama I'm Coming Home, but No More Tears was actually one of my favorite songs. And I just love to sing along with that, play with that. It just had a really great feeling, and kind of I thought it gave Ozzy a different kind of heart that didn't match the fictional character that we know Ozzy, that a lot of people outside of maybe the pop in other parts of pop culture will say, maybe knew of his fantastical kind of persona. And so this was more of like a sweet, endearing kind of side of him that I think you could see from songs like that. So that was really enjoyable. So I mean, it's just unfortunate that it sounded like he went peacefully, and I know that he had been dealing with illnesses before I think he actually succumbed to Parkinson's disease. And so, you just never know how long you have. But of course, then we also hear the news here just now recently as well, with the passing of Terry Bollea. Of course, everybody knows him as Hulk Hogan. And Hulk Hogan was an icon in entertainment. And, I remember what it was like, just all the Hulkamania kind of stuff that was around when I was a kid. I even had a few Hulk Hogan toys. I had like a Stretch Armstrong kind of thing that was actually it was formed after like a Hulk Hogan kind of thing. So that was like one of the toys, and I think I had like one of those. I think it was called a Pillow Buddy, something along those lines. I think I had one of those. So you might have to look that up. But if you're an '80s kid like me, then you probably kind of know what I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, I just remember him being kind of one of those larger than life characters, and seeing him in cartoons and then different movies. Some of the movies that I remember seeing him in, I remember being a teenager and actually going in and seeing No Holds Bar. I went to go see that with a friend of mine at the time, and we were both kind of just super excited about seeing a movie with Hulk Hogan in it and in the theaters, right? So this was actually in the movie theater. But yeah, I remember that. And of course, there was a couple others. I remember seeing him in, what was it? Suburban Commando, I think it was. I think that's what was the name of the movie. But yeah, that was kind of one of those other, childhood films that I remember seeing with him in it also. And there was some other things. I think there was even a TV show now that I think about it. You have to help me with this. It was like Thunder something. I'm trying to remember exactly what the name of the TV show, but he had like this stealth speedboat. It was almost kind of like a Hulk Hogan Knight Rider kind of thing, but instead of a car, it was a boat. I think that's what it was. But if you guys remember what I'm talking about, you have to throw that name in the comments for me. But yeah, I mean, I just remember all that, and of course, his wrestling career was a big deal. And I remember, like I said, I remember him from early childhood, and then I saw other things in his movie career in the teens, and I also even kind of followed up with some of his stuff that he did, like in the early 2000s on the wrestling side of things. But he was always really entertaining. Of course, we always liked him when he was a good guy, and then he turned to a bad guy, and then he turned back into a good guy. And so that was just some of the memories that I have about Hulk Hogan. So it was always kind of like one of those characters that you don't ever expect to kind of fade away, especially somebody that you've known since you were just so young, and then gone too early, I guess, that kind of thing. You kind of felt that he had more time with this. I kind of figured that maybe he might have had another 10 years, 15 years, if that, here with us. But unfortunately at 71, it was just his time. So, sounds like it was some kind of cardiac condition. So it was some kind of cardiac arrest, perhaps, as the reason why he ended up passing. But it was very sudden. And I think a lot of people are kind of talking about it right now. And so I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts. And then also, of course, another, main character from the 80s childhood is, of course, Malcolm-Jamal Warner. And, his character that he played as Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show. I remember watching The Cosby Show pretty much, I think, like almost every week. And, I mean, I would always gather around with my parents, and we would watch that show, and we would listen to the advice that Bill Huxtable, I guess it would be Huxtable, Bill Cosby, and of course, the mom. She was always had the the really kind of strict parent, but new, no nonsense kind of attitude. And Theo Huxtable, Malcolm Jamal's character, he was just kind of this he was he's a little bit older than I am, so he's kind of more of a teenager when I was still kind of in the elementary school age, but he was part of the family, and you kind of looked at him as kind of like an older brother, or somebody to be modeled as an older brother that you would okay, I'm glad he's experiencing these teenage years before I get there, so I know how the parents are going to deal with them. How what do I got to look forward to? But I mean, he was a real important character, and part of like an '80s generation TV show. And I mean, and he was just so young. I mean, I know we talk about here that being in our 40s, but he was only in his 50s, and so he's gone way too early, way too early. But I mean, these are just three people that had a massive impact on a childhood of the 80s, and of course even later on in the teen years and beyond that. And so I mean, just these three men, I mean, they will be missed, and it's unfortunate that they're gone. I think just a little bit too early, just a little bit too soon. But I just wanted to share some of my thoughts, and I'd love to hear from you guys. Kind of what your experience is. I know that maybe not all of you are familiar with each one of these individually, but I'd love to kind of just share your memories of how Ozzy or Hulk or Theo, Malcolm-Jamal Warner. I want to make sure that you guys understand what they were a part of in my childhood, and what they mean to a generation. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to kind of share my thoughts on this immediate news as just kind of happened here just in the last few days, last few hours in some cases, and it kind of hits home. So, yeah, guys, I just thought I'd kind of do something like this because it is something that I've been thinking about here, especially just here recently, and I just thought I'd share my thoughts. But you guys, let me know what you think, and I guess rest in peace, fellas. Rest in peace.